Okay, I have no idea how this is going to go or how long it's going to be, so if it's 15 minutes long, then I guess I can kind of wrap everything up pretty fast, but if it's over an hour long, then I'm apologising in advance, okay? Um, okay, this is like the first time I've ever recorded a video like this, so like forgive me if I'm like stuttery or if I cry, because this is obviously a very sensitive subject for me to talk about, and I really regret putting mascara on already, but we'll see by the end of the video if it's like ends up down here. But anyway, I've been really hesitant to film videos like this because, well, I mean, for a ton of reasons, to be honest with you. And again, if I'm not looking at the camera, it's because it's just like if you're having a serious conversation with someone, like it's hard to look at them like in their eye. And I just feel like if I'm not actually looking at the camera, I'll be a bit more forthcoming, but I'll really try my very best to engage with the camera, because that's the whole point in having it in front of me, innit? Okay, so for the third time, let me try and actually spit it out. I have been really hesitant to film videos like this for like a ton of reasons. So like, first of all, obviously my channel's really young and I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way towards like the discussion of mental health or anything like that, but really I created my channel as a kind of creative outlet, a way for me to verbalise my tips and tricks and a way to kind of document this journey that I'm going on in the next year. But I just think I've written a couple of posts to do with anxiety. I've never kind of combined the two things that I'm passionate about, which is like advocating for positive mental health, particularly in young people, which I can tell from my analytics that the majority of my viewers and my subscribers on my blog are. I like lost my train of thought. I'm getting a little bit panicky, but I'm really going to try my best to make this. I'm just going to try and upload this in a whole video. I don't want to like chop and change it. I just want to talk as if I'm having a conversation with my best friend. But the other reason I've been anxious about making a video like this is because I never want to come off as preachy about something that is such a sensitive and subjective topic. I often feel like, especially as a young woman, and I don't think a lot of the people that I've had conversations about my personal mental health with intend to do this. I know they don't do it because the people I've spoke to about it, I know they love me and I know they would never want me to feel like this, but a lot of the time when I speak to people about it, I end up feeling worse for having spoke with them, because I just feel like they come across as a little bit preachy, and I always feel like nobody ever gets it, and I think that's pretty across the board for a lot of people. And in making this video, I would never ever ever want someone to come away from this and think she's just doing exactly what she's saying other people do. I would never want to be preachy. I would never want to tell someone how to take care of their mental health. I'm completely understanding that everybody is ready to deal with it in their own time, and that's totally fine. I'm not going to tell anybody how to do it or they should go to a doctor or whatever. Like, when you feel ready to try and better yourself mentally, you do it in your own time. Don't let anybody make you feel pressured. And I understand people wanting to help their loved ones, but nobody can help them until they're ready to help themselves. So if you are a loved one of someone that is struggling mentally, I would just say, like, just be there as much as you can, even if that's coming up to their room once a day and making sure they have a cup of tea, or encouraging them to take a shower or go for a little walk, or just the little things, because dragging someone to a doctor isn't always the answer. It may be the answer for some people, but for me, it wasn't the answer for me. I was dragged by my mum, I was dragged by my ex on 4 or 5 different occasions, and it took until me breaking up, and I'm not pointing fingers, I'm not saying it's anything to do with my ex at all, I'm just saying that it took for me to be on my own, to spend a very long amount of time on my own, to self-reflect, to feel like I was mentally prepared to start dealing with my mental health. And like, thank God that a year on, I've never felt better in my life, truly. I've always really struggled, even as a child. I mean, obviously I haven't struggled in the same way I struggled in my late teens and early 20s, but I was always very anxious, I was always very highly strung, never dealt with stress very well. And the whole purpose of me making this video is that I know so many people that go through the exact same thing that I went through and still go through, to be honest, because I mean, for me, and I don't know if this is the same for anybody else, but I just feel like me and my mental health journey is going to be something that I'm going to have to work on for the rest of my life. I am very aware that if I don't meditate, or I don't exercise, or I don't eat well, or if I like party too much, or if I don't get outdoors and do something or spend time with people I love, or if I don't write or create content like this, I can feel myself start to slip again. And I'm just really glad that I'm at the point in my journey now where I can identify myself slipping back into a kind of less well state of mind, and I'm able to, thank God, say to people around me, or just to say to myself, okay, you spent today in bed, it's okay, it happens. Like I feel like it happens to everybody. I mean, I don't personally know, but I just feel like sometimes you just want to have a lazy day. For me, my lazy days are because I don't feel very good. But now I'm at the stage where I don't punish myself for those lazy days. Instead, I'm just like, okay, you're going to get up tomorrow and you're going to just start again. Like, and it's fine. And the not beating myself up part is really like the biggest step I've learned to overcome in the past year, I would say. So anyway, the whole point of that nearly 7-minute rant was just to say that, number one, I hope I don't come across as preachy or know-it-all, because I don't know it all. Like I say, I'm still learning about my own mental health journey and about other people around me's mental health journeys. So please don't take anything I say the wrong way, and I'm not trying to say anything to offend anybody, and yeah, I just hope I don't offend anybody. The second thing is, over the course of this video, I spoke to one of my close friends about this, and because I said I don't want to come across as preachy, like, really I'm just going to talk for the most part about my experience travelling with anxiety and the things that I kind of learned to do, what did work for me, what didn't work for me, and just that, in the hope that if you see this and you think, oh, that kind of sounds like how I can maybe deal with stress in the future, then I hope you can try it and it'll help you deal with it. One of the other aims for this video was really for people who have people in their life who do struggle or deal with anxiety, and maybe you don't really understand what it's like to be anxious or to be stressed or to have panic disorder. And that's absolutely fine. That's totally fine if you don't understand it, because a lot of the time, how can you ever understand something you don't know? I'm like totally empathetic towards that. But I just wish sometimes that I had had people who were close to me that I could talk to that really understood it. And again, I'm not pointing the finger, I'm not blaming, but I'm just saying, like, it would have been maybe nice, and maybe it will make you and that person's relationship a little bit stronger if you can identify when they're feeling bad and maybe suggest to them gently, why don't you try this, or why don't we stay in bed and watch a movie today if you're travelling. Like, it's okay, I'm going to get into things like that, but I don't know, I just hope it helps in some way. I'm starting to ramble because I'm getting nervous, but I'm going to just try and talk. So I'll just give like a brief backstory. So to be honest, the more severe end of my anxiety began when I was just turned 19. It actually was really triggered by me moving away to university. It was the first time I'd ever lived on my own. I moved away from a town where all my friends still live together. Everybody lives a 5-minute drive from each other here. I just felt like everybody worked together, everybody went to uni together, everybody saw each other every day, and I just felt like I was missing out so much. And on the other hand, when I look back now, I had a phenomenal opportunity to move to St Andrews. I met some really wonderful people, but just the way I was feeling, I just felt like I was losing a lot in my life. And that was kind of compounded with, I had a brand new relationship and he was still at home, and I was learning to kind of maneuver a long distance relationship, which was really difficult because I was really young. So the first year, it was bad, but it wasn't as bad as it got. But after that first year at uni, I went travelling long term for the first time, and we spent about 8 weeks or 9 weeks in East Asia. I'll be honest, I probably had, I'm going to say maybe like 5 panic attacks in the course of that 2-month trip, which for me was, it was scary at the time because I'd never experienced panic. I'd never experienced anything like that, and I think it really scared my boyfriend at the time as well, because I don't think he'd ever encountered anything like that. But it was fine, like got through it, had a phenomenal trip, and of all the trips we went on together, that was the most idyllic. It was, I don't know if it was because it was all new or if it's because that's when my mental health was in the best space, but all I know is that I was never aware of myself being overly anxious in that trip. I just felt very light and happy the whole time I was away. Then the second time we went away, I would say almost daily, pretty much every single day, I was having severe panic attacks. And it was that second trip where I really had to start to learn, or try to learn at the very least. And I wanted to learn how to cope with it, because I knew I was taken away from my personal experience and from his personal experience and our personal experience as a couple, and I didn't want to do that. I felt like I was in a strong enough place mentally where I didn't want to do that, and I wanted to take control of it. So that time around, the things I started to do were, there was one instance where we stayed in Naples for 6 days, and I was just like not in a good headspace, maybe in the second or third day, and I just said to him, like, you like, he had the wallet, I was like, I just need a day, just a day for me. I think I lay in bed all day and watched The Real Housewives of New York City, and I feel like the me of 2 years prior to that trip would have been like, that is such a waste, that's such a waste of a day, you spent all that money to go there. But really, in the grand scheme of things, 1 day out of 10 weeks, if that 1 day is going to make the next week a little bit easier for you, then why not take a day for yourself? I think I spent that day by myself, and then that night we went out for dinner together. So that might seem selfish to a lot of people, but for me, and I've done it on other trips since, whether it be with my family, with my mum, with that same boyfriend, with my friends, I just feel like I get to a certain point where I love being around my friends and family, but like, I just need a breather. That's just what I say when I say to them, and they know what I mean when I say that. I just say, I need a breather, like I need some quiet time. And it's very bizarre because I wouldn't consider myself someone that has social anxiety at all. I think I'm actually very much the opposite. Like, I love being in social situations, I love going out, I love meeting new people, but I find it more when I'm around the people I know. After a few hours, I'm like, I just need some quiet time. I don't know why that is, it's just the way I am. But for me, when I start to feel myself feeling like that, that's when I now say, I need a break. So if you're like that, and if you feel comfortable saying to someone, I just need a little break, then I think that's perfectly fine. If you aren't going on like a backpacking trip or something like that, and your partner might not have the option, so say you're at a resort, just download a book on your Kindle, watch a movie on Netflix, watch something on Hey, watch something on YouTube. You could go to the pool, listen to some music. Like, I think just having a little bit of quiet time on your own, even going a walk around the complex, I just really think it makes such a big difference. And I would also say, with reference to that, kind of taking a break, especially if you are travelling with a partner, travelling with your partner is amazing. Like, it really is amazing, especially if you don't live together, because you get to spend such like quality undivided time with them, and it's really like, it's the most wonderful thing you could do with a partner, especially when you're young. I personally believe that. But like, you can only spend so much time with one person. It doesn't matter how infatuated you are with them. Like, I think it's really important. And I mean, I wish, I say this with hindsight, but I wish in the broader like context of our relationship, I gave myself space a lot more at the time, and I think we would have had a much healthier relationship if I had done that. I think it's quite interesting how I was able to apply it to myself when we were travelling, but when we were at home I wasn't. But anyway, this isn't like a relationship advice video, but I'm just saying, um, I think it's important to give yourself some me time, some quiet time. Whether you like to draw, whether you like to do a crossword, anything. I always say to everybody I meet, I think it's really important that you have a creative outlet, whether that be, I don't know, going in like like looking at clouds in the sky, or like, you know what I mean, just the most silly things, because I'm not an artistic person whatsoever. But for me, my creative outlet is writing. So if you can find something like that, and if it's something that you can make portable, or whether you go and exercise or just anything like that, that's like the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say with regard to that is, I'm a planner, okay? And I think it has a lot to do with my history of anxiety, which I never really identified as anxiety when I was younger. And I'll hold my hands up to it, I'm very highly strung, and I'm very type A. I like to have a plan, I like to know what I'm doing, I like to know when I'm getting up and where I'm going, and blah 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 blah. I just like to be organised. I thrive when I have organisation in my life. And personally, I feel like when I don't have organisation is when I kind of start to slip mentally. So my second kind of tip for when you're travelling is, see, it's hard to say, because like, you know what I mean, I don't want to say anything that somebody's like, oh, but for me, I'll just say what works best for me. What works best for me is, I like to come up with my budget, and then after I come up with my budget, I like to think about what part of the world I'm going to, and then after I like to start breaking it down. I'm going to spend this many days, and I'll give you an example. The second time we went away, we went to Lisbon 2 nights, Porto 2 nights, Barcelona 3 nights, Rome 3 nights, Naples 6, Florence 3, Venice 2, and then we went to Eastern Europe. But for me, knowing that when I got there, I was going to be there for 2 days, and I could fit X amount of excursions and things to do into those 2 days, and I just felt like I thrived so much on having organisation. And don't get me wrong, when I went away last year, I booked a return trip to Bangkok, a 4-week trip, and didn't plan anything. And although I had a good time, and it was probably the least anxious I've ever felt, but I just think that was just because of the time in my life and the kind of circumstances in my life. I feel like I kind of wasted a trip. Do you know what I mean? Because I like to sleep, I like to go out at night, so I would go out at night and then I wouldn't wake up till 12 o'clock the next day or 2 o'clock the next day, and then I was like, and then that cycle just kept happening and kept happening. So for me, if you're an organised person at home, then it makes sense that you would be an organised person on holiday. Now, with that in mind, the first time we went travelling, we gave ourselves an entire week at the end of our trip to spend in Bali, where we didn't have anything booked, no excursions, no anything. We said we'll just take whatever money we have left. We pre-booked all the flights so that we didn't have to worry about expenses like that. But we just went, booked an all-inclusive hotel, maybe not all-inclusive, I think we had like half board, breakfast and lunch. And I just got to relax. So it was like having a holiday at the end of the holiday. Second time we went away, we done the same thing, but we done it halfway. So we spent a week in a hotel in Bali where we just kind of relaxed and sunbathed. Third time we went away, we went to Sri Lanka. We spent about a week at the beach. And then last year, we spent quite a lot of time at the beach just relaxing as well. So even though I do like to have structure, within that structure, I'll make sure that I have some time just to chill out. And then, yeah, maybe that is why maybe that's why I found it easier the first time, was because I knew that I had that kind of week of total relaxation at the end. I don't know. I mean, you can never really understand why you feel anxious and why you don't, but that's just, when I look back and I think about the way I felt and I think about the structures of the different holidays I've taken, that's what I equate to having organisation but having a little bit of downtime, I just equate that with feeling the least stressed. And relating that to my travels this year, as I'm sure all, you know, if you've read any of my recent blog posts or watched any of my recent vlogs, I'm moving to South Korea in August, but I am intending on going and spending a week for vacation time at the first week or so of August, and I'm just going to spend time with my mum, my family, visit my family in the surrounding states, and just really take some time to chill out. Just before I'm really thrown into this brand new lifestyle and this brand new culture, I just thought I need a break at some point, because everything for the last year or so, well, I mean everything for the last 5 years, to be perfectly honest with you, has just been so like go, 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 go. And now I'm really stressed out, and usually I go on vacation really, really early, so I'll have already have left at this point in the year. But instead of being anxious and feeling kind of trapped at home, I have something to look forward to. And I just think having that at the very beginning, and then knowing that I'll have another break kind of late December, early January, is kind of going to be able to spur me on through the first half of my trip, and then I'll deal with next year, you know what I mean? For me, it's been a bit of a learning curve. I like to be in control and I like to have plans, but I can't like plan the rest of my life away, so I'm just trying to plan it in kind of 6-month increments, because I mean, if the last year is going to tell me anything, is that anything can change at any time. Like, my life is totally turned upside down from where it was last year. If you told me this time last year that I would be single and moving to South Korea, I would have been dumbfounded, to be perfectly honest. Oh, that'll be my water away then. Next thing I'm going to talk about is a little bit more. I'm sorry if I'm boring you, right, because I just feel like I'm talking about the same thing, but I just think this is a really important point. When it comes to making plans, the most important thing, it's absolutely fine to make plans, and in the same token, it's absolutely fine not to make plans. But if you do make plans and something happens and you wake up in the morning and you just feel like, I'm just not up for this today, it's really so important to just not punish yourself. Like, it really is, because having anxiety and going out your comfort zone to begin with is only going to exacerbate it, whether it makes you 1,000,000 times worse or 0.001 times worse. It's definitely going to affect your anxiety and make it come out in some way or another. And I just really think that you can only do what you can do. You really can. You can only do what you can do, and I think it's really important, like I was saying earlier, the kind of learning to not punish myself when I feel like I don't want to say do wrong, but when I slip, there's nothing I can do about it. It's just the way I'm feeling. When I feel down, there's nothing I want to do except be in bed. Like, and that's just the honest truth. So, I'm going to drag myself around and be miserable all day, or am I going to take those 6 or 7 or 8 hours to kind of gather my thoughts, get myself back in the right frame of mind, and then go out for the evening? Like, it happens, okay? Like, it's okay. It's okay if it happens, because it's happened to me 1,000,000 times. And although at the time I will say I felt gutted and disappointed in myself, in hindsight I'm like, I can always go back. Like, I can. You can always go back, and is seeing that one extra landmark, like, is it worth like perpetuating the downfall of your mental health? Like, that's the stage I'm at, where I'm just like, my mental health is more important than anything I could see. And I get some people might listen to that and be like, oh, what's the point in spending money on travelling? But unless you struggle with anxiety, I think it's really difficult to understand how debilitating it can really be sometimes. So I just think that your mental health should always be at the forefront of your mind, and you should just be very aware of taking care of you, because the more you're aware and the more you're in touch and the more you do take care of you, the better a trip you're going to have. If you're away for 2 weeks and you drag yourself out of bed every day for all 14 of those days, is it worth it versus spending 2 days in bed and then having 12 fantastic days? That's just the way I look at it. I'm not sure if that's the way anybody else looks at it, but that's just the way I feel. Oh god, what else am I going to talk about? I need a drink. I'll be back in a minute. The next bit I'm going to talk about, when I'm talking about this, I'm kind of talking about part of it when you're travelling solo and when you're travelling a couple, but I feel like this thing in particular is kind of more applicable to people that are travelling either in groups of friends, with their family, or with their other halves. Now, I totally understand everybody is at different comfort levels when it comes to explaining to the people they might be travelling with about things like triggers and things like kind of like, not say, I don't want to say safe word, but you know what I mean, like when I say I need a breather, the people I'm around now know, because I've explained to them when I say that it just means that I need a time out, and they know not to ask because they know that I'm in such a mental head space that I don't want to talk about it. And the good thing about being communicative with the people around you is that the people in my life now know, because of the way I have communicated with them in the past couple of years, that I'm very much a closed book. If I mean, I am and I amn't, because if I want to talk about something, I will, like, the floodgates will be open. I'll talk. I mean, look at what I'm talking about right now. I'm not a shy person. I really would tell anybody anything. But part of the way my anxiety works is if somebody starts questioning me and I don't feel comfortable with the questions they're asking, I'm immediately like, leave me, like, and I totally understand how, especially in a kind of travel environment, that could cause friction and then maybe arguments, which could then like further deteriorate the way you're feeling. So whether it be like you're going on your first holiday with your pals, or with your boyfriend, or like whatever, your mum and dad, and I understand, like, it's hard to talk about it, but even if you like write them a little note and just say, haven't been feeling very good, so there might be a couple of hours every couple of days where I might just need a little time on my own. Hope you understand. If you want to talk about it, I'll talk about it when I'm comfortable. Something like that. You know what I mean? You only have to divulge what you want to. And again, I know it's easier said than done, because I went years without talking about it. I mean years. But in hindsight, I feel like my travel experience would have been a lot easier, because part of my problems with anxiety were very much, I expected everybody around me to kind of understand what was going on and to be sensitive to it, and now I'm very aware that how could they have ever been sensitive to it, because I never expressed the way I was feeling to anybody really, apart from my boyfriend. So if I didn't tell anybody, how could they, one, know, and two, respond to it, and then three, respond to it in the way that I expected them to. So communication is really important. Even if it's like you write them a text or something, if you're not comfortable actually verbalizing something with them. It can also be, I remember one of the things I done was I found like a little quote on anxiety and how to kind of deal with people in your life that had anxiety, and I just kind of took a screenshot of that and sent that to my mum. And that was enough. Thankfully, my mum's very in tune with the way I am emotionally. That was enough for her to understand what was going on, to understand the way I wanted to be responded to and kind of handled. And it meant that I didn't have to go into a darker place, because for a lot of years it was really difficult for me to talk about it. I don't know if that helps a lot, and I understand, and I'm really, really sorry if you don't feel comfortable to talk about it, but just like, you will be able to talk about it at some point. Trust me, you will get there, and I'm like rooting for you. Another thing I want to talk about is, and again, this is kind of more specific, I feel like, if you're travelling in a group, it's just that when you're struggling with anxiety, I feel like often it's really easy to kind of fall in the habit of kind of just going through the motions of life. And like for me part of the organisation, kind of going back to my first point, part of the organisation for me, I feel like why it helps me enjoy my trips so much, not only for the fact that I like to have structure, but it's very easy, I think, when you are struggling with your mental health to be steamrolled. And I really don't mean that in a bad way at all about the people around you or about the people that I had around me. I just feel like it's easier when you're dealing with mental health issues, if someone makes a suggestion, to just, instead of thinking about what they're actually saying to you, to just say, yeah, okay, I'll do that, let's do that, we'll do whatever you do. And I think when it comes to traveling, especially when you're giving up your own time, you're giving up money, you are traveling, you're going out of your way, out beyond your comfort level. I think it can very easily lead to a build up of resentment to the people you're traveling with, which in turn I believe exacerbates your anxiety. So even if you're not big on like making plans like I am, I just think it's really important to kind of have a conversation with the person you're traveling, so that you have a mutual understanding of what they want to do just as much as what you want to do, because what you want to do is important. And I know that sometimes I've certainly felt like what I wanted to do wasn't important, and I kind of just went along. And don't get me wrong, I still had a good time, but you don't have a good time as if you were doing something that you're passionate about. And even like if they want to go to a place maybe that you're not so keen on, there's always a way to kind of embed your interest in a foreign place that maybe you'd never think you'd want to go. So I mean, for instance, like Lisbon, gorgeous city, personally wasn't really interested in going, but I researched different kind of artistic buildings and their artistic movement, so that I knew when I went there, even though I wasn't that fussed about going, I would have a way to enjoy the city just as much as my other half would, because he wanted to go for like sports reasons and like there's good food and things like that. It's all about balance, and it's a collaborative process for sure. And again, like what I was saying just now, if the person you are going with doesn't know that you're struggling, then it's really hard to expect them, and I know it's part of the illness, but it's hard to expect them to kind of move around you if you don't give them anything to work with. So maybe that's another way, if you're not entirely comfortable talking about your actual issues with anxiety quite yet, or maybe you never will be comfortable talking about it, there's ways to kind of ease yourself into the trip and make the trip more cohesive with the people you're traveling with. And it's your trip as well, you're just as important as anybody else on the trip, and the more things that you kind of explore that you're actually interested in, that will make you feel better. I mean, it will. When you are engaging with things that you love and that you're passionate about, it's going to make you feel better. That making feel better might last for the hour, it might last for a couple of hours, but that's all you can ask for. It's a very gradual process, feeling better on the whole. So I think that's just a little tip that I found was really helpful for me. When I was thinking about the post that I was going to write in the description box below, I like to refer to posts that I've already written on my blog, so that maybe if I miss something and I don't explain something in a way that the people watching these videos might understand, that they have a kind of written reference to go and have a wee look at. Plus it drives my blog traffic, let's be perfectly honest. That's really my ulterior motive in all this. But when I was looking through my blog and thinking about posts I've written in the past that are kind of related to things like this, I wrote a post, I would say 3 years ago. It was called Travelling as a Couple, and it was kind of all the tips on, because after I went travelling the first time with my partner, sorry, I'm not picking my nose, it's just like so itchy. That after the first time I went travelling, quite a few people kind of asked me like, how did you cope? Did you get along? If not, what did you do to kind of resolve it? Especially because we travelled for such a long time. So I wrote this kind of post, and it actually lends itself to a lot of the things I'm talking in this video, like compromise with both of your interests, give yourself space, things like that. And I just think it's really interesting how back then I wasn't really aware of the issues I was going to have in the future, and I wasn't aware that the things I was talking about were going to apply to kind of the broader spectrum of people in my life, not just specific to kind of that sort of relationship. but I'll link it in the description below because it actually had a phenomenal response when I wrote it, and I think it's probably one of the best pieces I've actually ever written because it was one of the most personal and honest pieces I've ever written. When it comes to other things to talk about, I mean, I think I've kind of covered all the kind of experience I've had with what I can kind of suggest and recommend. I will just say that before I round us off that the second last time we went away, when we went to Sri Lanka, it was probably the worst place I've ever been in mentally, being abroad, and in hindsight I wish I just never went on the trip. And don't I am grateful for the memories I had, and I had a phenomenal time. On the whole, I had a phenomenal time, and like, we seen so many incredible things that I'll probably never see in my life again. It was like my first safari, you know. It was a really big milestone trip for me personally in terms of the way my blog was moving and kind of starting to monetize it. And I know that might sound kind of frivolous to a lot of people, but for me that was a really proud moment because that was me coming out the end of my sabbatical year from university, and I personally felt like I hadn't achieved a lot, and I think that feeling like I hadn't achieved a lot was a lot to do with the mental headspace I was in when I actually went on that trip. But for me personally, I just wish I saved the money, I spent the money on the flights. Do you know what? And I know this is easy for some people to say, but you'll make the money back. So if you feel like you're not in the mental headspace and you think it might push you over the edge, don't do anything to yourself or your head that you think is going to push you too far. If you think you can go, and you think if you read things like this and you use online resources and you maybe speak to a doctor or speak to your mum or your friends and you think, I think I can handle this, then by all means go and meditate and exercise and read and write and do things that make you feel good. But if you feel like going on a trip that you already have booked is going to push you over the edge mentally, then like, please don't do it to yourself. Your mental health is not worth a trip. Like, it's not worth it. I am very grateful and thankful that I had a partner who was very understanding, and he understood by that time, because we had been together for so long, that he understood my kind of triggers and he knew how to calm me down when I was feeling certain ways. But in other ways I do feel really guilty that I put that on him, because he must have had a miserable time, to be perfectly honest. I know the way I was, and I know that if I was him, I don't know if I could have handled it as gracefully and as with as much care and like gentleness as he did. But yeah, that's just the one thing I'm going to say. And with regards to online resources and stuff, I'm going to leave some little things in the description box below. I don't know how helpful other people find resources like that. Personally, like I said in the beginning, I didn't find talking to doctors, talking to friends, talking to anybody really helpful. I didn't find reading anything helpful. It was just me, and I just had to have some alone time, and that was the only thing out of all the things I tried over the last 5 years. That's the only thing that made me personally feel better. And I hope this, like the end bit of this video, is going to give anybody watching this who has been going through the same disorders that I had in the past. Like, I can confidently and honestly say that I am so excited for this next step in my life, and it would not be possible had I not gone through all the travel experiences and kind of built up my self-confidence and rebuilt my mental health to the stage it's at now. I just hope that gives like at least one person a little bit of kind of hope that even though you might feel like you're in the darkest of dark places right now, like, promise it's going to get better. And if there's anything, I know a lot of people don't like to ask, especially when I write posts like this on my blog and stuff. People tend to kind of private message me, but like, if anybody has anything they want to talk about, I know it's sometimes easier to talk to a complete stranger. If people I know are watching this and they can kind of relate to anything, honestly, I'm the least judgmental person in the world. Honestly, if you have anything to say, even if you don't want a response, you can just say, I just needed to get this off my chest. Or if you have any other tips or ways that you've kind of managed to calm yourself and help yourself meditate and relax and get through trips, and please do leave comments both on my blog and on my YouTube, because obviously I have a very specific type of anxiety which is triggered by certain things, but there's probably billions of ways that it could be triggered and ways to deal with it. So I mean, I hope if anybody found this helpful. If you did, even if you didn't, please let me know. I'm open to the criticism. I'm totally open to it. And if you could take a little second to subscribe to my channel, I would really appreciate that. Next week I'll be back with a video like the last one I posted, which was about East Asian travel money and currencies. I'm going to post one about the different ones in Europe, and that will be published later in the week. But thanks so much for taking the very long time to watch this, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.